Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas. And today, oh man, we are diving into an ancient story that has a surprisingly modern and really powerful message about why our lives turn out the way they do.
Let's just start with this question because it's a wild one, right? But it sits right at the very heart of this ancient Buddhist text we're going to look at. And it really challenges you to think about life, death, and the consequences of your actions in a very, very direct way. So the story itself comes from this text called the Parrot Sutra. And what it does is it tells the tale of this really remarkable encounter between a very wealthy man and the Buddha himself. Okay, so picture this. It all begins one morning in ancient India. The Buddha is doing his daily alms round, just walking through town, and he happens to stop by the home of this prominent, super wealthy guy named Manava. Now, Manava, the man of the house, isn't actually home at the time, but his prized white dog is. And listen, this isn't just any dog. This dog is living the high life. We're talking fine food served in a literal golden bowl. But as soon as this pampered pup sees the Buddha, it just starts barking its head off, super aggressively. And this is where things get really interesting. The Buddha's response? It's just so unexpected. He looks right at the dog and says something incredibly specific. And get this, the moment the dog hears these words, it stops barking. It just goes silent, walks away from its fancy bed, and lies down on the ground, looking completely miserable and sad. So a little while later, Manava gets home. He sees his favorite pet, which is normally so happy and full of life, just lying there, totally dejected, won't even move. He asks his servants what happened, and when they tell him about this visitor, well, he is absolutely furious. He storms out of the house to find the Buddha and give him a piece of his mind. So he tracks the Buddha down and basically yells at him, "What did you say to my dog? What did you do to him?" And the Buddha's calm reply sets the stage for a revelation that is about to completely change Manava's life forever. The Buddha just looks Manava in the eye and tells him, straight up, that dog is your own father, Todeya, reborn. As you can imagine, Manava just loses it. He's beyond outraged. He's basically shouting, "That is impossible. My father was a good man, a religious man. He gave offerings, he tended the sacred fire, he did everything right. He should be in heaven somewhere, not a dog." But then the Buddha explains the crucial detail, the part that everyone was missing. He says, yes, your father performed all the right rituals on the outside. But on the inside, in his heart, he was filled with this immense arrogance and pride. And it was that internal state of mind that led to this very unfortunate rebirth. Manava is still totally skeptical. Wouldn't you be? But here's what's so fascinating about this story. The Buddha doesn't just say, hey, you gotta believe me. He doesn't ask for blind faith. Instead, he offers Manava a way to prove it to himself. A little experiment. He tells him, go home and talk to the dog. Just say, if you really are my father, Todeya, go back to your nice bed. Then tell him to eat from his golden bowl. And for the grand finale, the real proof, command him to show you the hidden family treasure, the one that only your father knew where to find. So Manava goes home, probably thinking this is all completely nuts, but he does the test. He speaks the commands, and to his absolute shock, the dog immediately understands and obeys the first two. Just like that. Then comes the final command. The dog gets up, walks over to the exact bed that his former self, his dad, used to sleep in, and starts scratching and digging at the ground with his paws. And right there, Manava uncovers this huge, hidden family fortune of gold and jewels that he never even knew existed. At this point, Manava is completely convinced. He's humbled, all that anger just melts away. So he goes back to the Buddha. But this time, he's not there to accuse him of anything. He's there to ask one of the most profound and timeless questions a human being can possibly ask. He basically just asks, why is the world so unfair? Why do we see these huge differences in people's lives? Some people live long, healthy, wealthy lives. Others get sickness, poverty, and die young. What's the reason for all this inequality? And the Buddha's answer. This is what it's all been leading up to. He lays out one of the absolute core principles of his entire teaching, this universal law of cause and effect, which we all know today as karma. He explains that our situation in life, it's not random, and it's not a reward or a punishment from some god. It's much simpler than that. It is the natural, unavoidable result of our own intentional actions, from this life and from past ones. And the explanation he gives is incredibly practical, almost like a science. He draws these direct lines. If your actions are rooted in cruelty, in harming life, the result of the effect is a short life and sickness. But if your actions are rooted in kindness and protecting life, the result is a long and healthy one. And this right here, this brings it all back to Manava's father. Arrogance and stinginess, he explains, directly lead to low status and poverty. But humility and generosity, they lead to high status and wealth. You see, it wasn't the outward ritual of tending a fire that mattered most, it was the inward intention of arrogance that sealed his fate. And the same exact logic applies to our minds. If you refuse to learn, if you don't ask questions of people who are wise, well, the natural outcome is ignorance. But if you're always seeking knowledge, always inquisitive, you naturally cultivate wisdom. It's just cause and effect. So here's the crucial point. Karma isn't some mystical judgment from the cosmos. It's described here as a natural law, almost like farming. Our intentional actions, what we do, what we say, and most importantly, what we think, those are the seeds we're planting every single day. And our life, with all its good stuff and all its bad stuff, is simply the garden that grows from those seeds. And so this incredible story, which all started with a barking dog, it leaves us with this really personal, really powerful question to think about. It completely shifts the focus. Instead of looking out at the world and asking, why is life so unfair to me? It forces us to look inward and ask, what am I creating for my own future with the actions I'm taking right now? It puts the power and all the responsibility squarely in our own hands.